Good morning. How you guys doing?
Good.
What do you guys think so far?
It's awesome.
Pretty awesome.
Good? Cool. Awesome. So what I'm going to do is these three folks have apps that all of you can download, you can use. My kids are actually loving using your guys' apps, as it were. And so I will start off with Alex. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and sort of the application you built out?
Sure. My name's Alex Fedchkowski. I've been developing. I work with a creative development agency in San Francisco called Sequence, and I've been developing apps for iOS since 2008, really. So before that, I did back-end development. So
I think the mic's cutting out.
it's a little
Sorry
cutting
about
out. Sorry about that. Before that, I did back-end development, and I'm very happy I don't have to do that anymore.
Great. Wonderful. Thank you for being here. Dominic? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Dominique, and I work for IDEO, which is a global design and innovation firm. And at IDEO, I work inside the Toy Lab, which designs both physical and digital toys. So we design physical toys and invent physical toys for Mattel, Hasbro, Fisher-Price. And then on the digital side of things, we work with companies like Sesame Street to make iPhone apps and Android apps. And one of our biggest apps is actually on Parse, which is called Elmo Calls.
Awesome. Thanks for being here this morning.
Yeah.
Jeff?
I'm Jeff, founder engineer with Over. We have an iOS app that puts text and artwork on photos. We use Parse for in-app purchases and hosting and PF objects, all that good stuff.
Got it. Awesome. Well, so Alex, why don't you tell us just a little bit about the Food Network app and sort of what it is? I think we've got some graphics up here on the screen, and you can talk about the app itself.
Sure, great. It's an app we started developing in early 2012 for Food Network. It's iOS. It's also on Android as well. But this app, it uses PF objects, PF relations, and it was brilliant because we didn't have to write any sort of back-end server to handle any of the community features of the app. So you can upload a photo from your iPhone, see it on your iPad, see it on the Android version of the phone, all because even without having to log in.
Yeah. Great. Awesome. And then the Elmo Calls app. I've been demoing this all the time, so I love that thing.
Yeah, so the insight with Elmo Calls was that Elmo's sort of seen as the kid's older brother. And so if Elmo told the kid to brush your teeth or go to the bathroom, he's more likely to do it. So what we made was an app that Elmo does a FaceTime call with your kid and will tell your kid, hey, like, it's time to exercise or eat your vegetables. And that's pretty much the whole app. And the parents can schedule certain calls, so they can schedule Elmo to wake you up in the morning or whatever you want. So
Yeah. It's a really cool app. In fact, my wife gives it to me, and that's how she tells me to brush my teeth and wake up in the morning. Here you go. Anyway, so Jeff, talk a little bit about Over. Like, what is it being used for? Like, how are you guys thinking about the app?
It's in a few different markets. Mostly we use Over for putting text and artwork on photos. We see engineers, just the normal mobile creative type of individual using the app. We had a really great turnout with the Starbucks app.
Yeah, you guys were the app of the week for
right.
Starbucks, yeah.
And then a couple months later, we were featured for the 5-year birthday with Apple.
Of Apple, yeah.
That was
What
awesome.
was that like? What was the traffic like when you?
It
Did
was
you guys
hectic.
wish that you could get that? That would be pretty nice.
It was pretty hectic, but you guys bailed us out.
Good.
So, it was
so,
awesome.
so Parse actually helped with that. So
Absolutely.
Good. Sweet. Awesome. Well, I like to hear that. All right. So, like, what, Alex, if you could talk a little bit, like, in a little more detail about how you're using PF objects. Like, what was it about Parse that really was just like, I have to go use this versus any other solution that you sort of had out there? I mean, why didn't you spool up your own servers?
Well, I didn't roll my back-end servers because I used to do back-end development, and it's not fun. You never get any support from the clients. You only hear about when it goes down. And the nature of the app was it's all the restaurants that Food Network shows have been to. So the high traffic time is going to be 7 o'clock on a Friday or a Saturday, and that's I don't want to be like logging into a computer at that time.
Yeah. So for Food Network, it sounds like most of the traffic is in the weekend when they actually see the show, and
Yeah.
and you're not there.
Exactly, yeah. They'll run an ad on Food Network, and there'll be spikes, or especially on the weekends, especially.
Got it. Okay, cool. And so you're using PF objects for all the back-end things
Yes,
as well?
yeah, we are. For the community features, we're tracking the number of likes, the recommendations of shows and talent in different restaurants, and you can upload photos of food you take at a restaurant, and Food Network goes in and they all are stored in Parse, so you can see them immediately.
Got it. Cool. Well, let's talk a little bit about Elmo calls. Can you talk a little bit about what you're using of Parse in a little more detail, and what was it that was like, yeah, I got to go use that versus something else?
Yeah, so we were prototyping with Google App Engine before we found Parse, and we were spending so much time developing the backend, and what we really wanted to focus on was the experience of the app. And that's when we came across Parse and saw that they had the whole package. They could store all of our files, they could do push notifications, so they really had the whole package, and so we went with that and haven't looked back.
Got it. And what were you, for your backend, were you just using Google App Engine for storage, or did you have Logic back there as well?
Yeah, we had Logic and storage and moved all of that over.
And so you're on Cloud Code as well? And
yeah.
Sweet. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, good. I'm glad that's good. And let's talk a little bit about Over. Like, what are you using inside? Like, what has been the best thing, and why did you sort of like, I don't want to do a backend?
Well, we didn't want to do a back end because it's only 2 of us building the app.
All right, that's a good reason.
I do all the front end iOS code, and the other founder, he's the designer. So, we were pressed for time. We needed to build a back end quickly as possible. We wanted in-app purchases right out of the gate, and we knew when we had the Starbucks opportunity, we wanted to figure out how could we build a store and get that out there to our users. We were getting a lot of new users. We wanted to give them great content.
Yeah.
And this gave us that ability to do that. So in-app purchases have been the big thing for us.
Got it. Well, actually, let's talk about in-app purchases for a second, because I think all of you have a monetization model. I can't remember what the monetization model is for the Food Network.
Advertising is.
It's advertising. So you guys are advertising, and then you folks are actually a pay app.
Paid app with in-app purchases.
With in-app purchases as well.
Yeah.
And so are you using Parse for in-app purchases as well?
Yeah, so we're using Parse for in-app purchases. You can buy a bunch of different call packs. So Elmo Calls comes with 3 call packs, and then you can get more like a Happy Habits call pack,
I might need that. Don't tell my wife about that. The Happy Habits. What does that give me?
That gives you a bunch of different things.
Like comb your hair? Or
yeah,
something?
stuff like that.
I won't need that one. So you use in-app purchase. All right, that's awesome. And you're using in-app purchase as well. And it's actually really interesting. Like, what is your guys' perspective? I'll kind of pause for a second. We'll go back to Parse in a minute. What is your guys' perspective in sort of the monetization aspects of the Apple ecosystem or the rest? Is ads working out pretty well for you folks? Is in-app purchase working out pretty well? Like, where do you think that kind of model is moving?
It depends on the situation. I mean, that's a classic answer for any computer science question. Is it depends.
It depends.
And for some, ads will work perfect. For others, in-app purchases. What you were talking about earlier, Jeff, was just mind-blowing about your bump.
Right. Yeah, so what he's talking about is we had this influx of new users, and we were on a pro account with you guys and bumped up to enterprise.
Yep.
And, just having that scalability, it was just a phone call.
Yep.
And, we were running millions of API requests a day. And that's been the big win for us with you guys.
Got it. Sweet. Awesome. All right, great. So let's talk a little bit about, you guys saw some new products here. Was there anything here that you're like, I need to go use that, or I want to go use that immediately, Alex?
Back-end jobs.
Back-end jobs?
Yeah.
And what do you think you could probably use it for in terms of for the Food Network app, or for any of the work you're doing?
Well, I've got, we have some extra development coming on for the Food Network app, but for another client and that we just released about a month ago, there's definitely some things. Cloud Code was good, but if you do too much stuff in it, it tends to get killed. But yeah, background jobs is going to be perfect for that.
Sweet. Awesome.
Yeah, definitely the analytics. We would love to know more about what calls are most popular, what calls are being downloaded most. And so getting a bunch of analytics, I think, will make the user experience much better.
Cool.
I've got to agree with him. We have so many packs we're selling. We know how many we sell, but we don't know which ones we're selling. And with analytics, I feel like we might be able to find that
turn the
out.
corner on that. Awesome. And so how do you guys sort of think about, a couple of you are using Cloud Code as well. What do you think about doing all your back-end development in JavaScript? Like, how do you guys think about, all of you do Objective-C on the front ends. How do you think about the sort of polyglot movement of where I want to program in lots of different languages? Like, do you have an opinion about that? Do you care?
It's not Java, so it's okay.
It's not, as long as it's not Java. That might be the best line of the. In fact, I was asking yesterday. I was like, "Well, do you have an Android version of your app?" He's like, "No, man. I spent way too long building Java. I don't want to touch that again." Well, good. So as long as it's not Java, you're okay. So you would be okay with like Erlang if that.
Yeah. Erlang's fine. PHP's fine.
PHP with all the great stir functions that we saw there. What about you, Dominique? Is there, are you like, yeah, I'm down with JavaScript, or?
Well, yeah, I mean, so originally, before Cloud Code came out, we had all of the queries on the client side. We did PF queries for the iPhone, and so having it now all in the cloud, it was really easy when we came out with the Android version and the Windows version, so that they all use the same Cloud Code.
Sweet, awesome. Yeah. And what about you? JavaScript, you're good
We're
with
not
it?
using JavaScript. Everything's client-side.
Everything's client-side, so you're just doing everything on client. That's actually very interesting. So for you folks, you guys are iOS only, correct?
Yes.
So for you folks, you're doing everything on the client, and then you're just running queries effectively. But because you needed to support multiple, you made the decision that you're going to have sort of your own set of, are they REST endpoints, I assume?
Yes.
Yeah, got it. Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
And how do you guys think about cross-platform? Where do you think this sort of the industry goes, and how much do you think Parse actually plays a role in helping you get to that kind of cross-platform world?
Yeah, having the same cloud code affecting for all your different platforms, that's exactly what you want to do. You don't want to have, I mean, web apps came and went. Their customers really want for iOS, they want the native responsive app. For Android, they want what feels good as an Android app, and same for a Windows phone. You have to respect the user's platform, what they're playing in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, exactly the same. And also when, our app is 99 cents, and so it makes sense.
It's a good price point.
Yeah, so so it makes sense that it's not like a web app, and it's all natively on these different on these different platforms.
Yeah. And do you think Parse will help you go cross-platform when and if you guys want to do that?
It's positioning us to do that.
Got it. Okay, cool. And what do you guys think the role of the web is? One of the things that at Facebook we get there's a lot of conversation about is, the role of HTML5, the role of utilizing that as a mechanism to get maximum reach, but also wanting to have native applications. And we've had our own struggles and challenges in that space. How do you guys just generally think about that? If you're going to give advice to all these folks out here, I mean, how are you thinking about the web? How do you think about native? How do you think about those things? And how can Parse potentially help with that?
Yeah, I mean, again, it depends on what you're solving the problem is, your client's budget, what they're willing to do, how quickly you need to change the code. There's a lot of questions, but I mean, if you know exactly what you're going for, I mean, Over is a great example, and Elmo calls. They're both wonderful apps that really should be native.
Yeah, I think they should be native just because they use video and then you're using some kind of media manipulation.
Right.
But do you guys ever foresee, do you guys imagine having sort of web versions of your apps where you could, people could have some kind of experience, or is it generally like, we're just going to stay on native because that's where it's at?
I think native from a performance perspective for us makes sense.
Got it, okay.
Yeah, I mean, for us right now, native is what makes sense, but we're also exploring different ways for people to experience Elmo calls, like being able to text an Elmo call to a friend.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so different things that we're sort of
Don't tell my
exploring.
kids that. I just got them iPhones, and it's like a nightmare. If you get 10-year-olds iPhones, just wait. Well, that's awesome. So is there, if you had to give best practices to any folks, I think it'd be really interesting for folks to know, hey, when we were utilizing Parse, this is what we found to be good. And you can even tell them what you found to be bad, if hopefully there isn't such a thing, but if there is, I'm probably not supposed to ask a question I don't know the answer to, so I'll go with that. So Alex, what was like a really great, awesome best practice, and maybe something to avoid?
Well, I've been doing client services work for a while, and the best practice I found is really rapid prototyping. I mean, you can design an app perfectly, and then do the traditional waterfall effect, but if you early on start developing and get something in front of the client's hands so they can see, and if you put that little bit of extra magic in there where you actually have live data going from one client's iPhone to another person's iPhone, with Parse it's super easy, and you don't have to design an API and build up servers and worry about staging and development and production accounts. So that's my favorite part. It's just
It's just the amount of iteration you can actually do.
And you can just throw away code, start over, and it's not you haven't dug yourself into a very deep architecture.
Yeah. How much of that actually the rapid prototyping? I build a lot of apps every single day too. And what the interesting thing I find is just not even defining your schema is one of the most powerful things in the world. And you can just sort of start over every single time, and no schema migrations, any of those kinds of things. Is that a similar sort of?
Yeah, exactly. It's you worry about it later, and sometimes you just build it and it works, and with Parse, it's kind of production ready, so, because you don't have to worry about scaling too much.
Yeah. Great. And what
Yeah,
about you in terms of
that's
best practices?
exactly the same with us. I think the best thing is getting it into people's hands early and making a bunch of iterations off of that. I see way too many people trying to get the perfect product before they show somebody, even just showing their friend or coworker. So Parse definitely allows you to get something up and running, I mean, in less than a day. And that is sort of like the best thing for us is we love fast prototyping and then really focusing on iterating and making it a better user experience.
Got it. Sweet.
My favorite part's the SDK. It forced me into using blocks a lot more.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
So it was just like the design aesthetic of the SDK.
When you're writing code and you're forced to write great code,
Yeah.
That was a great opportunity.
Well, no more delegate callbacks. Yeah, no more delegate callbacks. Yeah, that was. I think the blocks is just a phenomenal innovation, and one of the things that I've loved about Apple's ability is basically take a technology that Next had in 1989. And apply it today. If you had told me 20 years ago everybody would be writing Objective-C code, I would have just told you you're nuts. And now it's like the #3 programming language. So let's talk a little bit about the future. So Samsung announced their watch yesterday. I don't know if you guys saw that. We have iOS 7 that's coming up. Microsoft just bought Nokia. Like, how do you think this whole kind of landscape is going to look like in 18 months? What are you the most excited about, Alex?
Next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday, yeah. All right, what's your prediction for what's going to get announced?
I think we already know, but
What, a gold iPhone?
the iPhone 5S, 5C.
5C. What do you think about the watch? Do you think they're going to announce a watch or something like that?
Who knows? But I mean, the Samsung watch is okay.
It's okay.
I mean, we'll see. The battery life's a little short.
The Samsung watch is okay. What do you think is going to happen? Like, are you guys getting ready for iOS 7? How are you thinking about that?
Yeah, we've got all our apps ready for iOS 7. And with what Apple's doing is they're rolling out a new kids section. So it's going to be a new part of the App Store which has these Apple-approved apps for kids.
Yeah.
So we've got all of our apps ready for that part of the store. So that's going to be pretty exciting.
Yeah, and in fact, I don't know how many of you know this or not, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Apple's actually, based on my understanding, going to do Apple IDs for kids now, and you can actually do allowances, from what I understand.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so that I think that would be really good. Although don't tell my kids, because my wife asked me why I had a $100 iTunes bill the other day, and it was from Elmo's call. So what do you think about iOS 7? What do you think is going to happen? You want to watch? Apple Watch?
We're still mainly focusing on the iPad and iPhone for our product and getting it ready for iOS 7, and that's where our main focus has been. We can't really make assumptions on what kind of hardware is coming until it's actually announced, so
Yeah.
so that's our game plan.
Got it. Okay. And how much of a role does social, I obviously work on Facebook platform, how much of a role does that play at all in sort of your applications, and how do you think about that, either in terms of storytelling or in terms of growing your application? I don't know if you guys have perspective on that.
Yeah, it's massive. I mean, Facebook integration is key to the app. People talk about all the Food Network shows in town. Guy Fieri it's kind of staggering how powerful it is on Facebook especially.
Yeah. And well, you guys, I don't know.
Yeah, well, actually, so it is a kids app, but there is a parent section.
Oh,
and so,
yeah, that's right. You have the swipe at the top.
Yeah. And so we've been thinking a lot about how can we incorporate social because that's so powerful for spreading and growing the app. And so along with texting, we're exploring options of being able to post an Elmo call to Facebook so that all your friends can see.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you can watch it in the Facebook feed.
Right, in the Facebook
That's
feed.
pretty cool. You should do that.
Yeah, we're working on it.
Let us know if we can help. What about you?
Well, Over's always had a really great share menu. We try to integrate with different social networks like Facebook and Twitter and recently Path, and we're trying to grow that sharing experience to help get text on photos out to people. Yeah.
Got it. Sweet. Well, so we're almost running out of time here. I thought I'd just open it up to you guys to say whatever you'd like to say to the audience here in terms of Parse, how you think about mobile development, et cetera. So if there's any parting words, Alex, that you'd like to share in terms of advice.
Yeah, I mean, just start using it. It's so simple. Just storing objects up there and retrieving them. It's 5 years ago, you couldn't do this.
Yeah. And what would, just while I have you here, like what is the feature you wish we would build?
Well, there's background jobs.
Background job. So we gave you what you wanted.
Yeah.
All right, great. I'm glad we satisfied at least one person. Dominique, what do you think? What's the advice? And I'll ask the second question as well. What do you wish we would give you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the really special thing about Parse is they really care about you guys. That's their main focus. And when we had Elmo calls, we were coming out with cookie calls, and cookie is a little bit more long.
That's the Cookie Monster.
Cookie Monster, yeah.
I didn't know Elmo was a monster.
Yeah.
Is Elmo Monster
Yeah,
his
he's a
official
monster.
name?
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
And the Cookie Monster is more long-winded than Elmo calls. So our calls were the video files were way bigger, and so we called up Parse, and they increased the file size for some of our files, which was really nice. So they really care about the developers and making sure that the developers make a great product in whatever they're making.
Yeah. And is there any feature you wish you had that we haven't delivered yet? Background? Do you like background jobs?
Yeah, I mean, right now it's working great for us with
Okay.
everything that we need. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Cool. Great. Thank you.
I suggest trying it out. You get a lot with the free account. You know, you can build everything with the free account. So doing that, you get, what is it, like 1 million API requests? Yeah, I mean, it's awesome.
Yeah.
I would just say try it out.
And is there a feature that you'd like to have that we haven't given you?
Analytics, I'm going to try that out today.
All right, you're going to try that out today. All right, awesome. So these are 3 developers who have been successful on Parse. We're really happy to have them up here simply because this shows you the kinds of applications, the kind of scale, the kind of things that we care about when we think about the kinds of apps that we want to see built on both the Parse platform as well as on the Facebook platform. And so if you would please join me in giving these guys a round of applause. We appreciate it. So this concludes the morning session. So what's going to happen is we're going to break right now, and we're going to go to lunch. So there's lunch out in the atrium. And then hopefully everybody has the Parse app. Does everybody have the Parse Dev Day, the Dev app? You should download it if you don't. We have it for iOS and we have it for Android. It's a phenomenal app if you haven't used it. The calendar is there. And you can see all the different sessions that are available for you that are outside as well, and they're on the application. We have lunch, and then there's sessions, and then we're going to be meeting back here at 5 o'clock, and then there's going to be a show and tell that I encourage you all to go to as well. If you look around, you're going to see a whole bunch of people wearing Parse t-shirts. Those are engineers that work on Parse or work on the Facebook platform. We are happy to help all day long. We're here for you. And so if you'd like to talk to us about any issue you have, you'd like a feature request, what have you, please walk up to anybody wearing a Parse t-shirt, and let's have a conversation. And so with that, thank you, and have a great morning.